In this video, let's look at functions. But under functions, I want us to look at a specific question. I want us to look at a question if you're to be asked to look for when f of x times g of x is actually greater than 0. Questions like f of x divided by g of x is actually greater than 0. So let's do that. Let's look at the first one. When they say that they're looking for when f of x times g of x is actually greater than 0, if you can look at multiplication, remember that they want it to be what? They want it to be positive. So now, for it to be positive, remember that it's either f of x is going to be positive and g of x is going to be positive, or it's either f of x is going to be negative and g of x is going to be negative. So now we need to first find for when they are the y values for for the graph of f and the graph of g, they are both positive and when they are both negative. So now let's look at these two functions and see what they tell us, right? Now, f of the graph of f, its y values are positive here. Just highlighting it there. They are positive there. Now let's go and see where the values for g of x are positive. G of x is basically positive from a going to infinity per se, right? But in this question, what they basically want is that they want the values of x, right? Values of x for when these types of situation occur. So now, if you can look at this, it means that now for the values of x when it is positive, x is basically going to be the element of what? X is just going to be the element from where? From -1, -1, going where? Going to 5. We're going to say 5 because we cannot go up after 5, because if we go after 5, then now f of x will become, its y values become negative while the g of x become positive, still become positive. And that won't give us a positive value. It would start giving us a negative because a positive times a negative would give us a negative. So for the first one, we have x being the element of -1 up until 5. So now let's look at it for when now we have what? We have them both being negative. So now the graph of f is negative from here going up until infinity, then from there going up until infinity. And g, the graph of g is negative from there going there. So now, with this one, our x value would be the element of what? It would be the element, if you were to agree with me, it would be the element from negative infinity up until -1, right? Because remember, they both start from -1 going to infinity, the x values, right? The x values, they start from -1 going to negative infinity, they become negative. We do not include the 5. Why don't we include the 5? Because on the 5 side, g of x is positive, and we want when they are both negative. And your answer here would be that x is basically the element of what? -1, 5 is the also union negative infinity up until -1. That's how you do it. Then same thing here. If you are to be given your question in this manner, whereby now they ask you to say for f of x divided by g of x, you know that for this to actually be positive, it's either f of x has to be positive and g of x has to be positive, or it has to be negative and also they have to be negative, right? So that's how you determine these ones. But also something else. If you have f of x saying that minus g of x is actually greater than 0, this thing, if you were to just transpose the f of g of x, you just get f of x being greater than g of x, right? And if you come to this function, you would realize that f of x is greater, the y values of the graph of f are greater than the y values of g of x, where they are greater here, up until there. So meaning that here, the x value would be the element of what? Of -1 going to what? Going to 3. And that's how you basically will do it. Because remember, f of x or g of x, it's basically just saying y, the y coordinates per se. Okay. So I hope that made sense there. And everything when it comes to these types of questions, you would understand them. And these questions, they also come up in trigonometry in your trig functions. So make sure that you literally look at them and understand them.